So now I'm really curious, and I'm sure anybody watching this is super curious to see what is it like to study at Carleton Architecture. You've got
Yeah,
some work from your semester to show us. So you've been through the first semester so far and have a good break. We're in between semesters right now, which is why you have time to talk to me and you look so rested and not frazzled.
no problem.
So, so thank you for taking some time with us. Let's have a look at some stuff you've done there.
Yeah, so I've been taking 5 classes. I have my studio class, my multimedia class, which most people would argue are your most important classes. I'll explain why in a minute. And then I've got my history class and my art as a visual communications class as well. So I think out of those, the drawing and multimedia are most important. Because you need a certain grade. I think it's 70 to continue your architecture semester. So they're very important. Drawing is a studio class that you have 3 hours twice a week. This is where you sit in class, you get critiqued by your TA, you look at more like modeling and stuff like that. So there's a lot of drawing, a lot of modeling in that class, opposed to multimedia is 3 hours twice a week again, but it's all digital. So I'm going to show you these two because my other classes are mostly just like I had history papers. Oh, and I forgot to mention one, Intro to Architecture. That's another one we're doing right now. I didn't include any of that work because it was mostly papers as well this year. So we can start with drawing. So this was the first exercise we did. They start at exercise 11 and then you go down to 1. So this is my first assignment that I did. So I included the prompt. And so in this exercise, we had to make a 3-dimensional model to represent an experience. And they talk a lot about climbing into your dream house and like a way to climb into a dream space. And then we had to create something called a skeleton drawing below it that's supposed to kind of mimic the texture. So you can see in my model, I've created this kind of tree. I'm really interested, if you can tell, into like the environment and things around me. So I created this tree in like a way to kind of climb to my dream house, and I made it out of wire. And below I have kind of drawn like the texture of the wire as well. This was a more simple prompt. You can see they're quite specific on their heights, their measurements of the sheets of paper. It's really about like presentation. I love this photo down in the back right corner. It's got incredible shadows on this model. They've got a really great light room at Carleton to take photos of your model. So I found that was super helpful throughout this entire process.
That's gorgeous. So
Yeah.
fascinating.
Yeah, I really liked it. I really like organic models. You'll see kind of throughout my style kind of changes quite a bit. Like it kind of changes depending on the project, but this is definitely one of my favorite ones. In exercise 10, we had to take that same model and put it on a new site, which means to put it on a landscape almost, and then draw it. So I put it on just a basic flat white textured ground, just to give an idea of it being on a flat land with a bunch of trees around it. And usually people use dowels to represent trees in architecture, but I wanted it to look very, very organic. So I actually went out and cut some sticks to put on my project. And these were my 2 drawings that I ended up with. We were only supposed to draw one, but I wanted to show the viewer, give the viewer kind of an experience. So I showed the outside view, what it would look like as you were walking up to the model, and then what it looks like from underneath.
I love it. Wow. The photos are excellent too. So cool.
Yeah,
This looks like such a creative program to be in.
it is. It's a lot of fun,
That's
and
a
the
really
projects are
good
very open.
choice for
Yeah.
yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, their projects are very open-ended. They're like the first exercise, they're like, oh, draw something you can like, or make something you can climb up into your dream house. Like that could be anything. Like I saw people making like so many different types of like ladders and like stairs and stuff like that. So it's very, you could take it whatever way you want, which I think is really great for first years. So this is a little bit more technical. This one I had to take a section of the architecture building and draw it to a 1 to 50 scale, or 1 to 20. I did mine in 1 to 50. And we just kind of had to draw what was there. We did all the measurements of the building around us. We looked at textures. I drew some of the brick textures there, windows, like everything. This one was a little bit more of a simple project, get us a little bit introduced to plans, elevation, and section, which you'll see like a lot in architecture.
In this course, were they teaching you about drafting and scale and measurement, or was there a different course where you were learning those things?
And this was the class that we learned a little bit about it. We did one lecture. This was kind of a, hey, go explore with it, talk to your TAs. They gave us a bit of instruction on how to use like the drafting board, and they talked a lot about different line weights and creating depth and stuff like that, which is super important within the work.
You did a good
Yeah.
job. Like
Thank
it
you.
looks,
I've never drafted before, so this was a
what?
really,
This is
yeah,
really well, like I teach drafting. Um,
yeah,
and
this was really
this is
good.
really well done. I'm impressed that you learned that with so little instruction.
Yeah, I would say that
Oh,
because the
wow.
projects are so open-ended,
Hmm.
they really allow you to have room to explore, which can sometimes be frustrating, but also sometimes be super, super helpful. And the TAs are great. Like, you don't have to, you have one TA, but I've gone up to like every TA in every different group and they don't mind helping. Like, they're so supportive and you can get a bunch of different opinions from everybody, which is great. So,
Did that help you a lot, the TAs, to be able to do this?
yeah, so I would
Oh,
definitely recommend ask questions all the time. Go up to your professor, go up to your TAs, even if they're not yours, they don't mind at all. Like,
great. That's
yeah,
great. Wonderful.
ask anybody. It's so helpful. Even the people around you that you sit near. I was lucky to have a great group of people sitting near me, that I'm able to ask questions to all the time, and they're wonderful. So
Wonderful.
so this one was a little bit more of a fun one. This one we had to do a study with body movement in relation to geometry of architecture. So we had to pick a gesture or pose and show us performing it. So I got to do yoga in front of the entire class, which was a little bit more embarrassing than you would think. But this is me doing yoga to represent the movement. So what I did was I stood next to the wall with a paintbrush and I did different yoga poses and painted where my arms and legs were going. So everybody looked a little bit ridiculous during this project, but it was kind of a fun one.
Very fun. Very fun. Yeah.
This is my graphic score. So for this project, we had to mix a musical score and a graphic score together. So that's a mix between like a music sheet with all the music notes and then like an architectural drawing. I like this one a lot. I thought this one was really, really cool. So I've used different like musical notes kind of throughout. You can see slowly kind of coming through the building. And then I've used those notes to represent certain things. So these little notes at the bottom here represent like paintings on a wall. And these little notes down here represent like columns. So you kind of have to picture the person walking through the building. So I've kind of made like an art museum here.
Very cool.
Yeah, and then I've used lines like this is like a microphone stand. I don't know if you can really tell, but like
Yeah.
kind of like little hidden things like that in there I find are fun to include in your work to like personalize it. And then another part of this project was to consider how sound travels through your space. So from this music note in the middle, I've drawn really, really dark lines to show the sound at 30 seconds and how strong it is. And it slowly fades away within the seconds. And you can kind of see the lines get more and more faint as they kind of move around the building. But I think this was a really interesting project. There was a lot of little details kind of hidden in there that you wouldn't have seen.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Reminds me a bit of some of the Russian avant-gardist, like Malevich and people like that.
Yeah, this was
Cool.
a really, really fun one for sure. I liked this one a lot. It's nice to do big model projects, but I still definitely appreciate small like drawings like this.
Very creative. Yeah, I see what you mean. Your work has really matured. You've
Yeah,
learned
I think
a
so
lot about
too.
design in various ways. Wow.
Yeah. This one was
Cool.
a long one. This one was a big project. This was my recto verso drawing. So this is taking that same model again that we saw in the beginning, and we had to draw on 2 sheets of Mylar paper. So this is a little bit more clear, transparent. On one side, we had to draw a footprint, which is where the model touches the page, and about what we would assume is 4 feet up. You kind of guess on your model how big you want it to be. You'd measure kind of 4 feet up and cut. And we can see that on here. I don't know if I can zoom in. This is where my model touches the page. And you can see my cut lines are a lot thicker. And then on the back side is the plan. And that's the little shaded part here. So I had to draw a footprint and plan on one side, and then on the other drawing, I had to do section and elevation. So elevation is showing the model just elevated, and then the other side is the section where it's cut in half, and you could see the architecture that I added to my model. So for this, I added like stairs and platforms. Um, just another little fun project, but definitely time consuming. Drawing the wire
Yeah.
over and over again takes some time.
Very good for three-dimensional understanding and how that relates to the two-dimensional surface. This would be a great project for first-year architecture students for sure.
Yeah, I agree. It
Yeah,
definitely gets you thinking,
very
especially
cool.
yeah, especially in the way because when working on Mylar, also like very different texture, you're using very different materials to draw on it. And the fact that when you flip it, you're drawing your model from the opposite way that you wouldn't have seen it before. So I found I was able to find many different spaces within my model. As soon as you start to rotate and see stuff from different perspective, it really helps you understand your model a lot more than you would have thought. Especially because when I was first making my model, I'm just wrapping wire around to make like a tree. I'm not really thinking about much else other than the tree itself. So this really helped me see like the space inside of it, I found.
Very cool.
Um, yeah, and then we also had to include a color element to it. So I used red and it had to represent like an element, like a feeling. So some people chose to do wind or water, and I chose to do ground energy and how it works with the tree. So I kind of showed like ground energy coming up through the roots, and then you can see kind of red in the second picture kind of sparking through the tree. And I thought that was a
Oh,
nice touch.
very cool. I think I want to go here.
Yeah, it's a
Like
really, really,
fun.
really cool. I like it. Yeah, so we're getting down to exercise 4. So this is drawing out of the flatland, and for this one we had to make like a bas relief section for the drawing of the pit. The pit is a room in the architecture building where we have our lectures. So this is what I did for that one. So this is a section of the pit that we got as a drawing. We had to once again like use our drafting skills to draw that background there, like with the brick texture and some of the stuff that was there. And then we can either choose to engrave or pull forward like a bas relief of a musical setting within the pit. So I've got my little cello on this side, and I've added some very like classical elements as I wanted it to be like classical music kind of playing within the space. And we had to talk about how the elements that we added, how it would react with the sound and how it would travel through. So I talked a lot about how where the person was standing, it would change the way the sound is because of the walls and the columns. And it was just kind of, once again, experimenting with how sound reacts within the space.
Oh, fascinating. Very cool. Nice. I see you what you mean, and they have really great facilities for taking photographs.
Yeah, they do. It's a really, really great photo room. I go there any chance I get. It's so great. I really like it. This is exercise 3 and 2. So we got to pick between doing a ceiling or a wall model for the pit again. In this assignment, I just decided to do like a mix between both. So depending on where the viewer is standing in the room, they can experience both a ceiling and a wall. Which required me to do a lot more drawing, but I think it was worth it. This is my ceiling/wall model. The shadows, I think, are incredible. I really liked this one. So in the pit, on this bottom floor, it allows the person to stand directly underneath. But if you move backwards in the pit, there's a set of stairs that people sit on. It's cut off in the plan. They don't let you see that far behind. But so if you're sitting on the stairs, you would see this kind of view. Like the photo on the left-hand side, you would see it more of a wall, opposed to in the second picture, you could see over here, if you're standing on the floor, you kind of get that feeling of it being wrapped around you like a ceiling.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Yeah, so it required me to do drawings as well. We had
That's
to...
tricky to draw.
Yeah.
You did a great job. That looks like a balsa wood
Yes, it's balsa.
model.
Yeah. Yeah. For the first little while, we weren't allowed to use glue. So originally I had made these pentagons and taped them completely and like flushly cut this tape to make it look like it wasn't there. But then it ended up being like way too loose. It was dangling. It was a mess. So finally for this project, we were allowed to use glue, and I was like, this is my chance to use the pentagons that I made. So it was nice to be able to use glue later on, but it's also great to learn to not use glue, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like,
To think about joinery and yeah.
It keeps your work a lot cleaner, and it also helps you think about how materials can work together and how you can mend things and use like wire to bend things. And yeah, wire was my best friend for quite some time.
Just it makes you think about how to join things and how to construct. That's excellent, and it keeps it a lot neater too, because usually people that are new to model building just make a mess with glue oftentimes. Like rely a little too much on it.
Now I see people who I really appreciate craft in a model. I think that's one of the most important parts, making it clean, making it look good. And some people do not appreciate that the same way, and you can kind of see that change in some people's work.
I teach a 3D design course at a college, and so that's one of the things, how to cut and construct and build and glue neatly. Just build, developing hand skills. Beautiful work. I love that piece. And the photograph with the shadows, it's amazing. But even being able to draw pentagons like that on an angle in perspective, and it looks right. Good job. Wow. Impressed.
It was definitely difficult.
Yes.
It took a very long time.
It would.
This is my last exercise for my drawing class. So we had to think about a memory, a story, a dream, and then describe one of the rooms. And then we had to draw it. So I did this from a dream, and it's an ambiguous room. So we had to draw it in isometric or axonometric, whatever we wanted. So I've drawn mine on 45s to create, or 45-degree angles to draw this room. So everything in it is on a 45-degree angle, except for this little melted table on the ground here. I had a lot of fun drawing this one. It was supposed to be like a weird, wacky room that you feel like uncomfortable standing in. There's this one little outside porch light inside that only brings in like a little bit of light. There's a window that isn't on the wall. The house number says 10.5 and it leads into a bathroom. I don't know. There's weird, funky things like that in it, and I love it. I think it's a really good drawing.
Very fun. I love it.
It's a little creepy looking, but I think it was fun.
Like Escher mashed in with Dali or something.
Yeah. Dali as well.
Yeah.
Fun.
Very cool. Wow, it looks like you've had a lot of creative fun and um did you have a lot of support through making these, or is it mostly just the fact of doing?
I would say a mix between both. There's always that, like, once again, like I said, like TAs and people around me are always super supportive, super helpful. And if I ever needed it, they were more than happy to be there. I've set up multiple Zoom meetings with TAs to talk about work. Even teachers outside of drawing and studio where you don't necessarily have a TA, I've set up many like phone calls or like Zoom meetings with profs and stuff like that. And they're more than happy to sit with you and talk
Right.
about your
They're
um
very responsive. That's nice to see.
yeah, they're very, very
Get a lot of
responsive.
creative freedom and guidance along the way.
Yeah, and they're always so open to helping you try new things. Like my one TA wants to do like a plaster project with me as well, and she's in her master's right now, and they're all super inviting and to show you like what they're doing in their master's degrees or in their PhDs, and it's just wonderful to see so many different like people and what they're doing later on as well. So always super helpful when I need it, but I would say most of the projects are like done on your own. I think I only did one group project, which was the assignment 9. This one we got to measure the together.
Right. That makes sense.
But yeah,
Good.
but all of it
Awesome.
was
Very interesting to see.
yeah. And I also have my multimedia work. So this is multimedia. The first project was to take 20 to 25 photographs within your home or residence, wherever you were living, and kind of collage it together. So these are an example of some of the photos I took, and we had to collage it to create a transformation of our space. So I've clearly highlighted like my bed next to my window because I found that's where I was sitting a lot. I was looking out the window. I've got a great view out of my room, which is wonderful.
Yeah, I was just noticing that. Wow, nice.
Yeah, a really great view outside my room. I'm on like the 10th floor in one of the big buildings, and it's right over the canal. It's wonderful. I got very
How
lucky.
lucky were you?
Yes.
Nice.
So I do enjoy that a lot. So I've highlighted the window to show that I enjoy my space there, and I've left my desk kind of more blurry because I found I work at the studio more than my desk at residence. So yeah, just a small first project. This was light, time, and shadow. So we were asked to take 5 photographs of our model from the drawing course and convert the images in black and white, simple like Photoshop, kind of like this, just looking at our model. And then the next 5 photographs were it outside in the sunlight at certain times. So at 8 in the morning, it was placed in the same space, at 10, at noon, at 4, and at 6. So you can see how the shadow moves around the model. And then last we had to make a video out of it. I'll turn the volume on. I don't know how loud it's going to be. So really, really short clip. It's our first 15-second video. We just had to show the shadow moving over and add a sound to it. Super, super basic, just kind of learning how to use the technology. Yeah, so all of my assignments that I'm showing you are done in 1 week time. So altogether it adds up to be quite a bit. They seem like small prompts, but between taking photos for like one project and making a video and drawing, it does add up, and they know that. So they are quite careful about how much we have to do in a week, which I do appreciate. I think there was only 1 week that was super, super heavy for work. They're usually quite cautious of each other's classes, and we use work from each other's classes, which is really great too. Like this is my drawing model, and I got to use it in my multimedia.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah, I
Yeah.
would say anything, be very cautious about your first model because you use it forever. And if it's not as good as you want it to be, the rest of your work you're not going to enjoy very much. So they give you an option, they even give you an option to redo your first model before you continue, because it's so important to have something good that you enjoy.
Yeah.
I was happy with my first model, so I continued to use it. This is Traces in Time. So this was one of my favorite projects. I had to take a bunch of photos of my drawing model again, and I had to show it moving. So this is one of my favorite pieces that I did in multimedia. And you can see it's kind of like we've got the branches and I have to show some depth and it's spinning. So I chose to do like a spiral to show it kind of twisting around each other. And then this one we had to show like new spaces. This was just a fun little one. I made it look like you were in a tree going through, and I've got some little fairies going around and some houses. That one was just a cute little
Very cool.
addition.
It almost feels like a batik fabric painting to me.
Yeah.
Love that. That is gorgeous.
Yeah. This one was a little bit longer as well. So part one, we had to add some different lines. It's playing on me. Add some different lines and create kind of a space within our drawing that I just did. So once again, building off of different projects again. So I've drawn some staircases kind of intertwining. It's basically just a bunch of different staircases at different perspectives. So I've got a video here. It's already started playing. I wonder if I can go back. Maybe not. Yeah, so that's my little video.
Beautiful. I love it.
Just get some stuff to move around. It takes a lot longer than it looks.
Oh yeah.
It definitely took forever.
Yeah, that's very time consuming stuff.
Yeah. So then this is definitely one of our smaller projects. I had to take 3 images from our drawing previously and add some color to them. So you can see I kind of did the same thing I did in my video where I would add color as it kind of grows. So I have pink kind of turning into purple and then turning into blue.
Nice.
And then we also had to, change the color completely. So selecting everything on the page and alternating the colors. And we had to take inspiration from certain artists that were given to us, which was really fun.
Fascinating. Gorgeous.
And then this is my room for lucid dreams. So once again, kind of playing with the idea of an infinite staircase, finding more spaces, collage work. Again, we see a lot of collage work, surprisingly, in some of our work. So I've taken like pieces of wood and I've glued them on, and I've drawn little staircases and more different perspectives and stuff like that. So that was another small one. And then this is the dream room. This is our final project. We had to create a 30 to 60 second movie using any editing software we wanted to. I continued to use the same one that we did all semester. So first we had to like construct something, and then, oh, it's already playing on me. Hello, can I go back? No, maybe not. Okay, I'll let that play through. So we had to create kind of like an elusive atmosphere in the space and imagine that it's kind of like a dream. So we had to have some character kind of going through some sort of dream. And I'm gonna try and get him not to play. Okay, well, we might just have to wait for it to start over again. I don't know why they don't let you have a restart button. It's very unfortunate. We'll have to cut this part out.
So we can start at the beginning.
We can start at the beginning. Okay. Yeah, so this was a project where I had to make my own sound effects too. So that was interesting. So all of the sound effects were from like videos or um, me and my friends like made on our own. Like all those like him like the little puffball going up the stairs is me like running up the stairs and we're trying to record it. And this was pretty fun to do as a group project because we're all helping each other make sounds for our own videos. Um,
Oh,
so
it sounds like so much fun. Very interesting sounds and movements and
yeah,
how the visuals um I guess how the audio backs up the visuals. I just fun.
it was a
I
lot
found
of fun.
myself kind of just smiling and chuckling and you're
Yeah,
really fantastic. I love that. This is like
yeah,
a lot of work.
yeah, that one definitely took a lot of time. Once again, we only had a week for it, so I'm sure it would
What?
have been,
You did
yeah, a
that in
lot
a week?
nicer if I had more time. But yeah, we had like this
Hours.
final a lot. The worst feeling is when my computer decided to crash halfway through and I had to restart with like 3 days left to go. So,
That's something to keep in mind, that things like that can happen, you know?
yeah,
Yeah.
save multiple copies. You always hear people say like, "Oh, save multiple copies everywhere," and I'm like, "No, like my computer's so good, it's gonna be fine." It's not. Save multiple copies of everything, everywhere, especially for multimedia. The programs that we use are quite heavy, so
Yeah.
you need a good computer
Oh,
for sure.
yeah. So that's how, for example, what are your computer specs? That's a good question.
Yeah, I'll look at my computer. I have so when going into school, I bought a new MacBook. And it says I have the MacBook Pro 14 inch. I have the M1 chip with
Um,
6 gigabytes of memory.
okay. We're not
Um,
seeing that, by the way, but anyway.
oh no. Well,
We see your
um,
website.
okay, well,
Whatever.
that's yeah, that is what I have.
So
It's
say that
been
again
holding
then.
up, it's been holding up really well. I like it a lot, but I did get a Asus computer for the CAD software because I don't want to boot camp off of a Mac because I've heard that it's not so good. So if I recommend you're going to get a computer, if you just want to get one, which I recommend because it's expensive to have two, get a Windows or some sort of gaming laptop. So
Gaming.
like Asus I've heard is really good. A lot of people recommend like HP, stuff like that. So then you don't have to boot camp. I love Mac a lot. It's definitely my preference, but not super convenient for the programs we use in apparently. So I
Okay.
also wasn't supposed to have this class until second year. So I thought I had a year with my MacBook before I could get rid of it. But they moved the program earlier. So I don't know about next year, but I assume next year's students will also have the same class I have this year. I think they're going to continue to keep the second year class in first year. So
Okay.
I think from now on,
So buying a PC gaming computer
I
instead
recommend,
of
unless you do want to boot camp off of a Mac, it does work. But I've heard sometimes, especially right now, because they're having a couple issues within Rhino, I've heard it's a little bit choppy.
okay.
So I would just recommend Windows right away, any sort of gaming PC.
Okay. Good to know.
Yeah.
Right. Wow. Fascinating.
Mhm.
Well, so interesting to see what you've been doing. I wonder how much it changes from year to year or semester to semester.
Yeah.
Um, I hope they don't mind you sharing what you did.
Yeah. No, it's no problem. And next semester will be completely different too, because I've got two history classes and a computer modeling class and studio again. So I'll be building more models. I'm assuming my computer modeling class will be combined with my studio class. So I'm sure I'll be able to build some of the models I'm building in my computer modeling class. And then history is usually just papers and kind
So
of
really, it's interesting that it's like they're really building your creativity skills, your the broad thinking, lots of different drawing and hands-on and just tech skills. Um, learning, the history before you start designing. Like you haven't designed any architecture yet.
Yeah, the
Were you
closest I've
surprised
gotten
by
to
that?
that is, they did give us a warning at the beginning of the
Okay,
semester. They're like, we're not doing anything house related until like second semester.
okay.
My prof that I have next semester is very, very, she's excellent. I did get to talk to her a couple times already. And she is a little bit more on the technical side of architecture. So she wants to introduce more of that in first year. So she said that she's going to make it more technical for us. So I assume I will be seeing more of that second semester. But it's been really great to just kind of explore with shadows and spaces and like
Mhm.
just creating something, like even if it's not a house.
So very cool.
Yeah.
Um, well, this has been really interesting to see, and I'm sure anybody who's been watching this must be really excited about applying. And it's kind of great to see what kinds of things you do, and it might be more of a catalyst to go, ooh, I want to be there, So, um, to I guess to close off this conversation, could you? I'm curious about what do you feel is sort of your top takeaway? What have you gotten out of this first semester there that feels really meaningful to you right now?
I feel like I would say I have two really, really big takeaways is always get feedback and always take criticism well. I know it's really hard for some people to like get criticized all the time. But I had a really, really great TA who picked me a lot for the critiques to come up and talk in front of the class about my work. I think she did it on purpose. She would like constantly pick on me just to get me used to talking in front of the class and talking about my work comfortably. And I would say that's my biggest improvement. I used to be very, very shy. I used to not really want to talk in front of the class. But really, even if they give you a chance to go up and talk about your work, do it. Because it's something you already know so much about because you spent so much time making this model. And it's something you should be proud of. So even if they're going to criticize you a little bit, always getting that feedback is so important. I think that's like one of my big takeaways. And my second takeaway, or like, I guess my prof for next semester, Piper, she told me to always carry around a sketchbook no matter where I go and sketch what's around me. Because people who sketch what's around them pay so much more attention to detail and what they see. And sitting there and sketching something for an hour, you're going to see so much more that you didn't see before. And that's been so, so helpful. So
Yeah.
I noticed things that I wouldn't have noticed before. So I think get feedback, talk to people, use your resources, and then definitely draw all the time. Even if you're not good at it, do it anyway. It's so good.
Yeah. So, yeah, I have a friend who's a landscape architect, and she says you haven't seen it until you've drawn it.
Yeah,
And
it's so
she'll
helpful.
draw her sites because she says she'll notice much more about a site than taking photographs.
Yeah.
Um, because you're looking much more deeply when you're, observing and drawing. And then, of course, just to jot down ideas and
Yeah.
try ideas too. So sketching from imagination and inspiration, even
Yeah.
just automatic drawing, you don't know what it's going to be. It
Yeah.
helps get into that creative place, and it's also very relaxing.
Yeah,
So,
it's nice to have that kind of like break. Like my breaks are going to like the library and sitting and drawing a plant or going outside or drawing something. It's a
nice.
nice break, but knowing that it's going to help me somewhere else.
Cool. Nice. So, and for so a lot of our viewers are students that are either contemplating applying or busy working on their portfolios. Um, what advice would you give students who are currently working on their portfolios? What kind of stood out for you in your um, process you went through?
Yeah, honestly, I think it's like once again really important to just start the project. Just start it and start brainstorming, get organized. Like you said, follow that chart you gave me. Really start planning out what you want to show them and really thinking about what expresses your personality, your interests, how you see the world. Really plan out what you want to show them and think about it, because they see like thousands of these every year. They want to see something that's different from somebody else, and what makes you different from the other students that are applying. So really think about what you want to put forward and how you present it, whether that's super formal or something maybe a little bit less informal, like I did. I drew some monastery leaves throughout my portfolio, something like that.
Right.
So really think about what you're putting forward.
Wonderful. Um, so, well, thank you so much for your time. And it was definitely a pleasure to work with you. And I thought we had a nice mixture of in-person and online lessons. That's not possible for everybody, but it certainly helped. And then just those finishing touches at the end, just getting that advice of how do I lay out my portfolio, because you tried a bunch of different things. And I think you started on Canva, kind of using some presets and adjusting some colors, but ended up with something quite a lot more, just clean and simple, and let your work really show. And once you got the idea of how to do that, you were off and running just fine on your own. And I'm really impressed what you ended up putting together, Emma. So I'm so happy to see it. So, and that was kind of interesting to see how much you grew in that time as well, like your skills, your ideas, your confidence. Once you saw how to lay out, you were able to just go with that. Because I didn't end up seeing your actual final copy, because some of this is new to me. And so I can really see that you really understood what you were doing. And obviously that really helps you in university, because they expect, proper quality for your presentations. And it's great that they have the facilities to help you do that. So this has been fascinating, and I'm just so happy to be able to catch up with you and see what you've been doing. I don't often get to. It was like, I get so involved in helping each student, develop their work, and they're building confidence as they're doing it. And yay, they got in, and then bye. Fly from the nest, never here again. And so this is really fun. So thank you, and I hopefully it's been inspiring to other students. And anybody has questions for you, you're probably very busy when you're at school, but I gather you're interested to give advice to. Yeah. Emma was really helpful. She was kind of a TA during our architecture summer camp. So we often have past students come in to help our students in our summer camps. And some of our students that are currently studying also act as TAs. So Emma's here to help anybody with advice if anybody's looking for that. Probably not a lot during the school year, but from time to time, like each of our TAs, they might go, I'll help, one student per semester or something. But we've got lots of students that are in school now that if somebody really wants that can happen. Anyway, well, thanks. And I hope you enjoy your second semester. Looks like you're well set up to do well. And you look rested, so you're ready to hit the ground running, are you?
I'm ready. I'm so excited. I'm very
great. That's awesome. All right, so if anybody's looking for advice, you can just reach out to portprep.com or reach out to Emma through me, and we'll help you get to be where you want to be. Anyway, okay, bye for now, everybody.